Exercise 7A-2, calculate the gross pay and deductions and net pay of 2 employees. So, compute the net pay for each employee using the federal income tax withholding table included. Assume that FICA, Social Security tax, is 6.2% on a wage-based limit of $142,800. Medicare is 1.5% on all earnings. The payroll is paid biweekly and no state income tax applies. Round each computation to the nearest cent as needed. So I'm going to go ahead and pop open the employee information here. And then the table here included. And notice it does say biweekly and single. Both of which our employees here are. So we can go ahead and start by putting the gross earnings for each current pay period for each of the employees. That's a given here in the table. So for Han, that is 1,710. And then for James, it's 1,580. And then we'll input our mandatory deductions here. So first one will be federal income tax. So FIT, we abbreviate that as FIT sometimes. The second one is FICA Social Security tax. And then finally we have FICA Medicare tax. So let's start with Han's federal income tax. We're going to go ahead and open up the withholding chart back here, and then our calculator down here. So Han makes $1,710 biweekly. So on this chart, his adjusted wage amount is at least $865, but less than $2,041. So then the tentative amount to withhold is $38.20, but then that's plus the percentage of 12% of the amount the adjusted wage exceeds $865. So what does that mean? That means anything over $865 out of the $1,710 will be at 12%. So let's go ahead and throw that calculation in our calculator here. So that's going to be 1,710 minus 865. And then we're going to multiply that by 0.12 to get 12% of that amount for 101.40 cents. But then we also have that $38.20 that we do need to add on here from the beginning of our calculation. So that's going to be $139.60. And we can go ahead and enter that here. And you can enter it as 139.6 or 139.60 because they are both numerically the same. Okay, and then we can now move on to James. So we can clear this out. And notice the amount that he makes is 1,580, which happens to also fall in the same bracket here. So we're going to take the 1,580, we're going to subtract out 865. We're going to multiply that number by the 12% or 0.12. And then we're going to go ahead and add that $38.20 for 124 even here. And then we can go ahead and close out of the withholding chart as we will be moving on to the Social Security tax. So let's go ahead and clear out. Go ahead and move this over here. So for Social Security tax, it is 6.2% on a wage-based limit, $142,800. So let's go ahead and take a look here. If we take a look again at that employee information, neither of these employees has made that amount, so 6.2% will be calculated for both of their biweekly pays. If they were over 142 or split in the middle, that would change things a little bit, but they're still within that limit. So let's go ahead and calculate Han here. So we're going to take 1710, get that in our calculator, and multiply that by 0.062, which is that 6.2%, for 106.02. So we can go ahead and enter that here. So a quick side note on converting percentage to a decimal. There's a few different ways we can do that for this problem. So one, as you saw, I input 0.062 for that 6.2% for the Social Security. So that's just me moving the decimal 2 places to the left. Or we could enter it as 6.2% like this, and then divide by 100, which will also give that 0.062 in our calculation. And then there's also a third way. So when we go ahead and input Han's biweekly pay here, we're going to then multiply that by 6.2. We can hit this percent key right here and get our answer as well. And notice I did not hit the equals button. So just the percentage key will then give you your answer. Then we can clear out here for James and take his 1580 and again multiply that by 0.062 for that Social Security tax rate for 97.96. And we can go ahead and enter that here. And then as for our Medicare tax, let's have a look back here. There is no wage base for that, wage base limit, I should say. So let's go ahead and calculate the Medicare tax here for each, and there is no wage base for Medicare. So it is a 1.45% rate. So let's go ahead and input in our calculator here 1710 times 0.0145 for Han's Medicare, and that we will round to 2480. We can go ahead and clear out then and move on to James, and his will be 1580 multiplied by that 0.0145, so 1.45%, and that will equal 2291, and we can go ahead and enter that here. Okay, and then let's clear this out and add our deductions there. So start with Han here. So we'll go ahead and add the 139.60 plus 106.02 plus 24.80. That's going to equal 270.42. And go ahead and populate that in. And then we'll go ahead and do the same here for James and add his deductions as well, these three. So 124 plus 97.96 plus 2291. That's going to equal 244.87. And then to get our net pay here, we're going to go ahead and clear out. We're going to take this gross earnings and subtract out the total deductions here we just calculated for the net pay. So for Han, that means 1710 minus 270.42 equals 1439.58. Go ahead and enter that in. And then clear out here for James. So 1580, and then we're going to subtract out 244.87 total deductions for net pay of 1,335.13. There we go, and then we can go ahead and check our answer here and see how we did. Excellent.